What's up guys, my name is Aztec. I'm here today to show you a tutorial on KOTAL KAHN. You guys also know me as the short hop god. And you know, if you watch me, you see me make multiple top 8s among multiple tournaments. I'm not even going to get into all that. I want to show you guys how to praise the sun. And you know, let's have some fun with KOTAL KAHN today. Before we start, be sure to subscribe to DashFight for more character guides and check out their website for all things FGC. Stick around till the end of the video to see which character guide is coming next. Alright guys, so we're going to be looking into some of KOTAL KAHN's best buttons, and I'm going to explain a little bit about each button and what they do and how they work. So we also have stand 1. Now stand 1, if you play with KOTAL KAHN, you know he has a command grab, and stand 1 ticks. So what that means is if the opponent blocks stand 1, you can get a free command grab from that. So it's very important, and it's one of the best buttons that he has. And it's also really good for anti-airing as well, so it's also a good thing. And then we have the blade push. Honestly, we call it forward 2. You know, it's a big thing for KOTAL KAHN. It covers like a lot of space. Although it's 19 frames, it's pretty decent. It's a good mid. So, and people say it's unreactable, especially online, but this is a really good mid to use. This is your way of getting in and starting your offense. And then you have down 4. Now, down 4, I think became one of his better buttons. It's better pokes, excuse me, over time, because they gave it a buff where if you hit down 4, this now jails because of a hit advantage. It has 20 hit advantage, meaning I have time to do this to the unblocker, which is down back 4. Alright, so you have down 1. It's a 7 frame down 1, so it's not the fastest. It's not 6 frames, unfortunately, but another example of tick throws, like his down 1 tick throws into his command grab. So it's very important, you know, that you use your down 1 often, and it creates a mind game as well. And then you have a nice low starter with the knee shatter or forward 3. So that way, if you hit confirm this, you can get into combos, into the Jaguar, to his meterless launcher. It's just a different things you can work with around that. And I think one of my favorite moves personally is the sweep or back 4. It's really a good trip guard tool, especially when you get people trying to jump in. You can sort of like, it has a decent enough range where they can catch people trying to jump in, so it's really good in my opinion. And then you have his royal backhand. Although it's a high, it's relatively fast. It's 10 frame startup, so you know, this is one of those things where you can again start your combos off this way. A nice whiff punish for most of the things, and it also leads into KOTAL KAHN's like crushing blow combos as well. So those are just a little bit of something that KOTAL KAHN works with as far as his buttons and what they do and how you need to use them effectively in any match you play. Alright guys, so when talking about KOTAL KAHN's best variation, it's one of those things where KOTAL KAHN, like, it just depends on the matchup honestly, because yes, command grab is effective and it's really good, but in all honesty, if you watch me play KOTAL KAHN, for example, right? Like, I wouldn't use command grab against Jade. You're better off just rocking the Grand Discus and double Jaguars, because that's the best way to play it. Like, you want to play lame against Jade, in my opinion. The same thing goes for Frost, Scarlet, and Katana. Like, you don't need it. But for the most part, this is probably the most common like build of KOTAL KAHN. I believe I've seen a lot of other KOTAL KAHNs use this variation, or at least have this sort of custom loadout saved in their tournament settings. So we'll just stick with this for right now. So you have his command grab. It's a mid, so the opponent can't duck it or tech it or do anything like that. And what happens now is, if I command grab you, now meter burn it, right? You get a damage buff. That's really important because it not only gives you damage to the command grab, but other things as well. CS 152, right? 121, so 12% basically versus 15%, and that's all thanks to the damage buff that you get from the command grab, which is why it's basically one of the main staples that most KOTAL KAHN mains use, because again, it's a steamroll button, right? Once you get the command grab, you start going, you start doing more damage over time. It's really good. And now we're going to look at his armor break, which is the cut. I'm just not going to say the first part of the name because I will butcher it, so I apologize. If anyone else can do so, I would love to hear it. I'd actually be really impressed. So it's going to be down 4-2. And And when you meter burn it, it keeps you close to your opponent's closer to you. But if, you know, in a situation where the opponent uses their breaker, right, it's fine. Like, the cut will, like, negate it, and then you can get a huge, like, crushing blow for it. So it's one of those things where you would rather have that in certain things versus the meterless launcher, and I think that's why it's really good, because it does, like, a lot of damage. So imagine you're command grabbing them to death, and you do the cut, and you meter burn it, right? And they try to break away, they're gonna eat at least minimum like 42%, just off the top of my head, like if you get enough command grabs in. And then you have his disc, right? So that pushes him really farther away, and the second part of it is a mid, so they can't duck. Like the first part is a high, right? But the second part is a mid, so they can't just duck it, they have to hold it. And one of the more important things, I know, like, this is like gonna be funny to some people, but like the sun, right? So the sun heals you and does damage to your opponent. So if I throw him, right, 19% versus what, 13%, I believe. Yeah, 13%. So now the sun, right, the startup is horrible, right? Like, this is like when you throw the sun out, you have to be really careful because you can get punished really easily for it. But it's also a great way to close out games and rounds with it. Like, I can't tell you enough how many times I've done 4-2-4 into sunlight and just killed them for it, you know? So, I think it's one of the more, like, unique things about KOTAL KAHN. He has, you know, dot damage in a way that can kill your opponent. So, it's a great way to chip them out, especially if you have the life lead and you can just sit in sun. You know, you can just sit in sun and camp it out and, you know, get your health back, make your opponent come to you, and that's what you want. You want to frustrate your opponent by just playing lane with Kotals in some instances and using the sun. And with the sun, you can also, if you spend the bar, you can send it to them and it just cooks them, right? So just imagine that, right? Look at that. 18% for that. Alright, so now I want to talk about the overall game plan of KOTAL KAHN and how you should approach each matchup. Now, the thing of KOTAL KAHN is a little bit different because it's not like Liu Kang or Cetrion or Jackie where you just have one sort of default variation. So it may depend on which character you're playing against, but just a general overview of how you should play KOTAL KAHN. And let's just assume you're going to be rocking command grab. So you always want to go be like in a range, in this mid-range area where you can operate effectively, because 4-2 is going to be your best friend and it always will be. So you want to use this to sort of start your offense. And, you know, and you want to have really good spacing. Like, KOTAL KAHN is a whiff punishing character, right? And he covers like a lot of like space. So like, you want to constantly keep them in fear, like trying to enter that said space and like punish them hard for it. And one of the more important things is when you rock command grab, you want to just do it. Like, it's a 14 frame startup, but like KOTAL KAHN has like one of the best wave dashes in the game, so you can get him pretty effectively. And so when that happens now, right, so you got the command grab, now people are scared of it, right? Now you can just start doing other things. You can make your opponent like scared, and like they'll purposely like get hit by this, and then they'll like want to respect like your other buttons. So like once they're scared of the command grab, it leads to a lot more things that you can do with KOTAL KAHN. So playing KOTAL KAHN is you gotta like sort of like wait for your moment to strike, essentially. Like, you can be super aggressive with KOTAL KAHN, of course, because he has a command grab, but you also want to like sort of like have that switch, whether you want to play passive or not. Like, you know, it's like being in this little space right here. You know, you want to be in your opponent's face, but sometimes you want to sit back and like just wait for them to mess up, and then you can just go in for like the 4-2, or like you see them like rolling back or doing something, you can whiff punish with this back 2. And, you know, you get that command grab started, and then that momentum like sort of shifts your way, and then, you know, your opponent is getting scared of the command grab, and then they're forgetting that, oh, I have 4-3-4, or oh, I have 4-1-4, or oh, like they won't even care about like KOTAL KAHN short hop, like at that point, you know what I mean? So it's very important that you know establish your sort of range in which you operate. You know, then you can start to mix effectively. So looking at KOTAL KAHN's weakness, what I believe sort of separates him from being like a top 7, top 8-ish character versus being like top 5 is, you know, outside of forward 2, right? The big mid that everyone always like talks about. Well, KOTAL KAHN, you always have forward 2, but if I'm in your face like this, right? Like, I would want something quicker than 19 frames. 19 frames, like, isn't that fast. Like, and when he doesn't have a mid, like, that's the issue. Like, he doesn't have a close enough mid where other characters can pressure you. Like, sort of like Joker, Jackie, Fujin, etc. And I think that's really what separates him from being, like, a top 5 character, in my opinion. Because you don't have that close enough mid, like, starting a pressure is a little bit more unique than other characters, because you're sitting there basically in a mid-range game trying to wait for your opponent and see what they're going to do. You're playing more reactionary / anticipatory, you know? You're trying to calculate what your opponent is going to do versus like, oh, I can just like run up to you and do something. Like, it doesn't really work that way with KOTAL KAHN, especially if you have people who know how to deal with forward 2 and can react to it as well. And that creates a real problem for KOTAL KAHN players to start their offense. So it's one of those issues where KOTAL KAHN struggles against characters who start their offense faster, because it's incumbent upon the player then, right, to have the good defense and to know the matchup and to prevent that. And then you're having to wait until they do something that's negative or like that has a gap in it or something, or any situation where you can start your offense after being on defense for so long. So it's one of those unique things about KOTAL KAHN is he's not like, he's obviously not bad. He's like one of the better characters in the game, but he's not up in that sort of like top 3, top 5 like space of characters. So it puts him in that weird situation where it's like, well, yeah, he's good, but like, how good is he compared to the rest of the cast sort of scenario. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap things up from here. Hope you guys found this video to be informative. I hope you guys get to praise the sun with KOTAL. So you can also check out all things shown in this video in the text below via the link in the description. The next character guide will be. And if you like this video, please leave a like or comment below with your thoughts. Thanks for watching.